everyone, it's Amanda from the Golden Circle Homestead, and welcome back. So I feel like it's appropriate where I can say now, like, hey y'all, but I won't do that right now. So you can probably hear the noise behind me. That is our generator. And I wanted to film a little bit today to kind of show you what's going on, where we're at with everything, the transition process, and also kind of set some realistic tones, because as much as we want to encourage anyone and everyone who's interested in this path and this lifestyle to pursue it, there are some realities. And quite frankly, they're not all fun, they're not all easy, and they're not all pretty. So I just kind of wanted to give a realistic perspective of what's going on in our world and in our life right now, so you can kind of see what this journey has looked like and been for us so far. First and foremost, you may see that there are things behind me. And this is the fabulous work of Jonathan. He has worked on putting up a lean-to because all of our stuff is still in Michigan, being stored very graciously and kindly by some friends of the family who have a spot where all of our stuff is just hanging out for the time being. So one of the things that I really have to say is lean into your community, lean into your network, and especially when you're moving into this lifestyle, meet people, expand your network, especially if you're moving out of state and you don't know people. That's one of the biggest things. Like, we have, coming into the South, we have been blessed with a very welcoming community who is very much approachable and introductory, and they stop by and say hi and introduce themselves. And along with that, we have found some neighbors who are extremely helpful and very kind, and have really lent a helping hand when we absolutely needed it. So this would not have been possible without some of that assistance. So I would definitely say one of my biggest tips for this process is really leaning into your current community and network, but also you really have to be intentional about expanding wherever you're moving, wherever you're going, or if you're staying put, expanding into the homesteading community as part of that. So I'm going to kind of walk around and do a little bit of a tour to show you the realistic perspective of what's happening. So let's go. So this is the lean-to that Jonathan has built so far. It's going to have ceilings, it's going to have walls, still a work in progress, but this is going to hold all of the stuff that our home has overflow with that we can't fit all in. So all of these posts here actually came from our property, from our land. And so he cut them and dragged them down. And the only help he had was actually like digging the holes that they go in. So they're cemented in. And then we've just been extremely blessed and gifted when it comes to like the materials here and even what's been used for the walls so far, because all of that has just been people like, we don't want this, you can have it. And so really leaning into those like free resources and utilizing and being resourceful ourselves when it comes to like repurposing things and using things that are already here. So this area, not only has he built the lean-to, but he cleared the whole area for it. So that's been happening. And then as I venture forth, it's going to get louder with the generator, so bear with me with that. And I will kind of explain the backstory of that as well as we move forward. So as you can see, there's a ton of mud and a ton of water. And so here in Tennessee, the winters are extremely muddy. Our precipitation is not snow because it doesn't usually get cold enough, although it does get cold enough sometimes, like we had an ice storm this past week. But yeah, so we get a lot of water, a lot of rain, and it makes it extremely muddy, which is why we have not moved back yonder onto the land to moor. That's why we're still stationed up here in the front. So we're still like right off the road. And if we were to bring our camper back there, we would not make it, basically. So it's hanging up here for now. And then this area has also been cleared with the help of our friends, who we are so grateful for. These are the cement blocks for our single wide that should be here next week. Fingers crossed, prayers going up. But this is where it'll be, because again, it's way too heavy to take back there right now. So we have to wait for some summer months when the ground is much more sturdy and not like it currently is. So, but all of this stuff is stuff that has been sourced from our land or has been given to us. We haven't really spent anything. This back here, I don't know entirely how it works or what's happening with it, but this is basically like our holding tank for sewage. So this is gonna get dug into the ground, and that's gonna be our holding tank. So that's what that is. And then coming back up to where we're heading. So we just got our solar panels and our solar batteries this past week because it's taken a ridiculously long time for us to get them for delivery, and we already had ordered some and we had to return them because they were faulty. So we've been running on a generator since we've been here, and there's still some stuff that we are figuring out with the solar setup, which is actually where Jonathan is right now. He is talking to someone who actually knows way more about this, so he's meeting with them to kind of get some insider information. So, yes. So another piece of this is we burn our trash, so we had to get a burn barrel for the trash. So that is how we're doing that. And then this is a water jug. I don't know what the official term for it is, but it collects rainwater, which is why we're slanted right here. And so it'll rain, and this has been about a month's worth of collection, and we've been using it throughout the time. So yeah, this is kind of what we had to rely on for the time being, because the well situation did not work out initially the way we had planned. So because it's so muddy, we laid down a bunch of hay, straw, and that's what's kind of keeping our sanity when it comes to the mud. I mean, as you can see, my boots are all muddy. So it's just kind of like, it's very chaotic not having what we need. Like our fridge in the camper died, so we had to go get one, which is what we're gonna end up moving into the single wide anyway. And then, you know, just everything else. It's a little chaotic and crazy, and it's not ideal, but this is what this life looks like right now. It's not forever, and we'll eventually have more storage and space, but for now, this is what it is. So one piece of the whole water situation is that where we're at, to actually have a professional well drilling company come out, we would be on a wait list for like a year or longer, and that obviously was not feasible. Plus it's super expensive. It can cost, I don't know, $10,000 or more, depending upon how far they have to drill and all the details of it. So that was not a path that we were in a place to go down at this point in time. So we were going to do I'm trying to think, what is it called? Basically where it's a very shallow well. And so you can get the supplies at like a Tractor Supply or online or wherever to do this. And we figured, because there's such a high water table here where we're currently at, and with seeing so much water on the land, we were willing to try that. The problem is that when Jonathan went to do that, it broke. It was in the ground, and then it broke at the very top end. So we had to dig that out, and we're planning on trying that again with a new one. but for the time being that hasn't been done, and that's why we're waiting on the rainwater collection for water. Again, our neighbors, who have been extremely gracious, have been helping us with supplementing our water needs, and have kindly given us access to their well, and they have a lot of water, so they're like, help yourselves. But you know, we're trying to be self-sufficient and sustainable, so that is not a sustainable solution. And so long term, something else will be figured out, but we're still trying to figure out what that will be. Another component to this is that I am not here. I work a full-time job that is an hour and a half away, so I am not here for very much throughout the week, and that is extremely imperative to have that income throughout this whole process, because not only do we need it, because we're not in a place to live off the land and survive right now, but also because there are hidden and additional expenses that come up when you're doing this, such as the generator, which costs money to run. It is quite expensive to run it daily, but it's the only way for us to have electricity and ultimately heat in the camper. So there are different things like that that need to be taken into account when making this lifestyle transition and decision. Jonathan is not working. He is doing this full time, and he's also taking care of the boys, because there are no daycares around us that have any openings. So they're all on wait lists. We are on wait lists for all of them. And yeah, so right now we're a one income household, but having an income is absolutely vital at this stage of the journey. So just kind of wanted to let you know about that too. Yeah. Tree that was weighed down by the ice storm, and it actually like pulled it out of the ground, and the root system is pulled up a bit. So Landon decided to chop it down, and that is the result of it. So fun stuff. And then I'm trying to figure out what is going on here, because in Michigan my garlic thrived throughout the winter, and because there are just so many like changes in the temperature from being like normal to freezing throughout the whole winter, I think my garlic died. I don't know if it's coming back, and I'm not quite sure how to counteract that in this different, location. So I'm gonna have to look into that some more. So if any of y'all are from Tennessee and you grow garlic, give me tips. But yeah, these kind of have been neglected in any case, but I neglect garlic anyway. So, and then these are some hens and chicks that I pulled from our house in Michigan, and have tried to kind of keep them going. And so some of them are, at least enough. They are a perennial, so they should come back regardless, and they're all kind of hanging on. So, and you get tons of them from one, so I'm not super worried. As long as I have one, I'll be in good shape. So there's that. I did pull some lavender and also some mums from my garden in Michigan, hoping that they would kind of survive and hang on through the season. And I just think that the journey has destroyed them, and I'm not expecting them to come back, but I'm gonna hang into hope that maybe, just maybe, they will. So there's that. I also have those going on, but that's all I have for plants right now. So I wish I could share an update with you on what our plans are moving forward when it comes to the garden this year and animals and things like that, but it's all just like so up in the air, because until we get settled and actually living here with our home and just kind of feeling like everything's in order, like we don't even have our stuff from Michigan yet, and we've been here for like 3.5 months. So until we really get settled in that regard, homesteading is just kind of focusing on the home part right now. But I have kind of been thinking very minimally about what we're going to do about gardens, because with us being up front here and not back into the land more, It's really hard to like plan for anything. Like I can't plant perennials up here. If I get raised beds, then you know you have to move them back to where we're actually going to be located, and I don't know how feasible that's going to be. So I'm not holding my breath for that. So I don't know how much like planting we're actually going to be doing, and until we get like the lay of the land set, I don't even know where to put perennials. So I'd love to like have our road fully set so that we could have like an orchard, like fruit trees and stuff kind of bordering it on the drive down. But again, it's all just a timing thing, and so there's not a whole lot I can really say in that regard. I have like a ton of things I want to order, seeds and perennials and things like that I'm like chomping at the bit to buy, and I just can't because I don't have a place to put them right now. So I think we're gonna do some raised beds and just kind of have them up by the house until we get it moved back there. And depending upon when that can be, if it does end up being where the ground gets solid sooner, around like May, June, then my possibilities open up a lot more. But it's really all just kind of like playing that by ear. But yeah, I wish I had more of an update in that regard. So yeah, we're just trying to get by, feel good, maintain life, and live, because this is not an easy lifestyle, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So with that being said, if I could say that the takeaways from this video are 3 things, it would be 1, start building a community and a network wherever you're at, whether it is, you know, as you're waiting and you're planning on moving somewhere else, start building that network and that community as soon as possible. And then when you do make this transition, really, really lean into as many communities as possible and be intentional about networking with people. The second thing would be resourcefulness. That is a huge quality and characteristic that homesteaders have to have, because we want to save money. So lean into, like, even when you get here, if you don't and you have the blessing of a ton of people just like being like, hey, I got free stuff, go on Marketplace, search for what's free, and be willing to do that. The other part is that don't be afraid to be uncomfortable, because this is uncomfortable and it is hard, but it's worth it. And we chose this life, we chose this lifestyle because we want it, we believe in it. But that doesn't mean that it isn't hard and there are not obstacles along the way. Water's been an obstacle for us. Even the solar and the electricity and the generator, that's been an obstacle. The mud and not being able to move back to where we want to be is an obstacle. Being in our camper is an obstacle. It took a while for us to find single wide that like fit our budget and was what we needed and wanted. So don't be afraid with being uncomfortable and doing something that's hard for something you believe in and something that's worthwhile. Yeah. The other really, really big thing is that throughout this entire process, it's all been God leading and God guiding and God putting people in our path. And this is really Him calling us here to Tennessee, to Hohenwald, to this piece of land, and putting people in our path and really going before us and opening doors that I don't believe would have been there had we embarked on this on our own without Him leading and guiding us. Every step of the way has just been His provision and His hand, and that being prayerful and mindful of that and trusting Him and leaning into Him has been all the peace that we've needed. And really talking about sustainability, like He has sustained us. So yeah, I'm sure there are more tips to come, but I just wanted to share that with you today and give you kind of just like I said, a realistic perspective of what this looks like moving forward, so that you know how to adequately prepare. Don't just come running out to the country, buying a piece of land and thinking it's all going to be hunky-dory, because it's not. Be prepared, research, and don't quit your jobs. Make sure you have an income, because this is not a cheap transition. All that to be said, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching and hanging in there with us as we are making this transition and going on this adventure. We love being able to share it with you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!